There is a solution for that is sponsored by VARC Solutions. VARC Solutions helps small businesses succeed by delivering expert QuickBooks bookkeeping, consulting, quick-base development, and integrated solutions. If you own a small to medium-sized business that uses QuickBooks or QuickBase, the experts at VARC Solutions can help. In business since 1999, with people who care and the knowledge and experience to solve your toughest problems. Visit varcsolutions.com for all your QuickBooks needs. Welcome back to another edition of There's a Solution for That, where we help small businesses succeed by discussing challenging business problems and best-in-class solutions. All right, welcome back, everybody, to There's a Solution for That. We have got a great show for you today. We've got a great guest for today as well, Matthew Stafford, who's the managing partner and founder at Build, Grow, Scale. And we're going to be talking about website conversions. How do we maximize those things? And I know that that's a problem for a lot of companies that, you've got a website, you maybe have an e-commerce store, and you're looking to maximize the return on that investment. You're looking to grow your sales. And if you've got sales kind of leaking out of your funnels, that's not great. So Matthew is here to kind of talk about that. So Matthew, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you and your company and what you do.
Yeah, so we started off having our own sites, and through that process, I just realized how important data was in order to optimize our ads because, we started this almost 10 years ago, and back then ads were pretty reasonable and you could make money on the front end. Now ads are a lot more expensive and there's a lot more competition. And so in order to compete, we figured we could optimize the data so that the site would convert higher because the average site converts around 2 to 3%. And I always thought that was broken, that we were going to go try to find another 100 visitors, get 2 or 3 more sales. Why wouldn't I go to those 97 people that didn't buy that are what I would consider warm leads and figure out how to convert 2 or 3 of those, and I've doubled the business on the same amount of revenue. And from that point, that's literally where this whole concept started. And so we started working with the UX UI of the site. I also say that your website is the conversation that you have with your client. And so if your website's not doing a good job of having that sales conversation, then it's going to suffer.
Awesome. And so it sounds like you've obviously got a lot of experience doing this. So maybe just kind of get us started with some of the things that we should be looking at or thinking about. I mean, you mentioned UI UX. Does it matter what platform you're on? Are there better and worse platforms in terms of being able to optimize this stuff? Just kind of give us a little bit of a 411.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're in e-commerce, for sure, Shopify's the 800-pound gorilla, and they've done a really good job of uh, making it very easy for store owners to build and sell stuff. The thing that I would still say is most developers don't understand conversion. And so a lot of the websites or a lot of the themes that you'll get aren't really focused on conversion. It's more of an online store catalog. And so there's certainly things that you can do to go through there and make it work better. Um, I believe that each page on your store has a certain action associated with it. So like your homepage is literally to build trust. Did I land on what I think what I'm looking for? And how easy is it to find it? That's really what your homepage should do. Not buy now or add to cart and a bunch of buttons and a bunch of products and all those other things. It's really to capture their attention. Yes, this is who I was looking for. Now I'm going to filter down and see if they have what I want.
Okay, so using the homepage it's kind of the homepage, I guess, is a little bit more of that website version of your brochure. You're trying to, like you said, establish trust. And have you found, just in the research you've done and the clients you've worked with, are there people at different stages when they land on the site? Like some people are ready to buy, some people are just doing basic research, proof of
Yes, of
like
course.
you're a real company. I mean, like, how does that influence how you structure a site or help clients?
Yeah, that is. And obviously too, with the ads, they send them to different product pages or they send them to category pages, different things like that to see what's working. But of course, the easier your site is to navigate, they're only guessing when they send them to the store as to what that person might want based off their targeting. If your site is what I think should be simple and clear, it's gonna give them the ability to go around the site and still find what they're looking for. I would tell you that, you know, we stopped counting about 4 or 5 years ago, and we'd already done about 600 million through our carts that we had optimized. So we have a lot of data. I would say that when we go start working with a new client, typically the first 60, 90 days, we're removing all kinds of stuff that they had on their site that it's not getting used, nobody ever sees it, it's not creating any conversions. So most of the problems that people have with their website from a 20,000 foot view is they have way too much on it and it's not clear enough. We always say that we want it to be so simple that Homer Simpson would understand it.
You know what you know what I like about what you just said, and just like how I translate that into my world. It's like when you're it's like decluttering a house, right? It's like you walk into a house that's got lots of stuff all over the place. It feels disorganized, right? It feels like there's just like, how do I even, know where to go? Where's the bathroom? Where's the kitchen? I don't know. There's too many things, right? And like there's a whole business around staging, right? If you're trying to sell a house, people go in, and that's, at least from what I've been told, that's like 90% of the job is literally just decluttering,
Yeah, yeah.
getting rid of all the stuff that's there, leaving the essentials that are truly helpful or necessary to make it look like a pretty environment. So it sounds like to me, part of what you're doing, I mean, obviously there's a whole lot more, but part of what you're doing, at least with that on that first look, is just like decluttering a site.
Yeah, and trying to get in some best practices like you want a hierarchy of focus. So you want one action, one dominant action per page. So if you're on the product page and the action that you want them to take is add to cart, then your add to cart button should stick out so well that no matter what they're doing on the page, they can see that that's the action to take. And then same, on every other one, but you don't want like 8 different buttons that they can click. That's just not, creates a paradox of choice. Even too
Right.
many options for colors and different things like that. We found that reducing the number of options that you have increases conversions. So it
Yeah.
just, you have such a small amount of time to connect with that person and convince them that what you have is worth them trading their money for it. And if you're trying to do that with a whole bunch of stuff, you're not going to do a very good job.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I mean, I guess I've experienced that myself, just, whether it's Amazon or just wherever I happen to be buying something. If there's one choice, it's easier to make a decision than if there's 20.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you get overwhelmed, you get overloaded, and then you're like, I just don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing at this point.
Yeah,
All
or
I
you go,
came
oh,
here to
I
do
like this
is,
one. Oh, I like that one too. Now I like 3 of them. I'll just come back later when I have more time to decide.
yeah.
So you just lost them.
What are your? I mean, again, we're going to go down some rabbit holes on here. But what are your thoughts on like the whole concept of giving choice A, B, C, small, medium, large? That type of concept. I've seen it work well, but I don't know if that's like the best way to do it these days or not.
Yeah, 100%. I think that paring down the options and making them fewer always works. Like, just because you can offer a t-shirt in 10 colors doesn't mean that's what you should do. We've split tested millions and millions of dollars of just like t-shirts and things like that. And we've always found that 3 colors, like 3 primary colors, and a couple of different designs might have an extra one or two.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's like if you go into Baskin Robbins, how long does it take you to decide which ice cream you want compared to you go in where they have vanilla and chocolate or a twist? Like one, you just give them an answer. The other one, like you got to try a bunch of samples and then you're not sure and you walk back and forth past the counter. Well, every time you do that in the store, you lose a lot of people.
what's fascinating about that? I mean, just trying to apply this thinking to different industries and companies. It's like, can you imagine, a company out there, an ice cream company, and it's like all they sell is chocolate ice creams. Like chocolate ice creams are us, and you walk in and you're like, what? It's just the one. Yeah, just the one. It's really good.
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier to build a reputation for how amazing their chocolate ice cream is too, if they're
Yeah.
focused on one.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I mean, I guess that's like how, like I think it's In-N-Out Burger as an example, right? They started out in California, and of course they're in Texas and probably even well past Texas at this point. But I remember, the first time I went in there, it's like, okay, you can get a cheeseburger, double cheeseburger, you can get fries, and you can get a drink and maybe a shake. That's it. Like it's not like chicken sandwiches and tacos and burritos and everything else on top of it. So
Yeah. And I
interesting.
think, I mean, the growth that they've had is pretty evident that people, when they stop there, they know exactly what they're getting and they're fine with that.
Well, so how do you get past that with a client when maybe they have a core product or service offering, but they also have like these three or four other things that they have clients that the clients value that product or that service, but maybe it's not the primary. It's like, how do you still expose it and make people aware that you can do it without it like overwhelming the choice?
Yeah, obviously it would be context dependent on what it is and the site, et cetera. But most store owners that have like a hero product, their store is built around that. And so having that remain the hero product and then letting them find the other things through filters or a category or something like that, I think is totally fine. You could have six different categories of products. The problem is when people don't separate them, and they have no filters. So maybe you have 60 options of dresses. Well, if you put filters down the side, which are, sundresses, formal dresses, something else. And each time you click that, you're narrowing the choice. By the time find what they're looking for, now they get to go look at your six or seven best options, even though you have, 60 of them to start with. And
Okay.
so doing that matters a lot. Like people that use your search, which means search and filter are the two highest converting pieces of traffic on your entire site. So, if you try to reverse engineer that, why would that be? Well, if they can search for it and they find what they're looking for, they convert way higher. If they can filter through it, find what they're looking for, they convert way higher. So
Yeah.
it means that probably the majority of stores, what they're suffering from is people can't actually find what they're looking for.
Right.
Otherwise, they would convert higher.
Interesting. Interesting. No, it makes a lot of sense. I want to circle back a little bit to the platform question, because I know, when I think of our clients and just the sort of anecdotal information that I have from running into a client or asking a question, and just somehow it comes out like what platform they're on. Not that like it's not one of my checklist questions to ask them, but it just kind of comes out on occasion. Obviously, Shopify, we've seen there's folks that are selling on Amazon. I've seen that. And then it seems like beyond those two, I hear, some folks using things like Squarespace. What is it?
There's
I don't know if,
big commerce, there's WooCommerce,
yeah,
there's Magento. The big commerce and Magento are kind of really old school. They haven't caught up at all.
yeah,
WooCommerce, like the reporting's really hard, and there's a lot of issues with security. So really, a lot of them, they like did well when everything was booming and everybody's getting on there, but Shopify's done a really good job of optimizing the process and making it easy so that you don't have to be a coder to do everything. And
right.
their checkout is so standard now that that checkout just works really, really well.
Yeah, I guess so. Like Shopify, they've kind of Amazon things, right? Where they've made it try to get it down to one click as possible to get
Yeah.
shopping cart added, done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of or run into ClickFunnels? I've known a number
Yeah,
of people
yep,
that
for
have done
sure.
something like that.
Yep. Typically, ClickFunnels isn't very strong in e-commerce. They're very strong in obviously building a funnel where you're choreographing every step into the next one.
Mm,
And yeah, that works. It totally works.
more for
But
like information-based products. I think I've seen.
yeah, way more so than physical products. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're thinking of info products, maybe ClickFunnels might be something to take a look at versus a physical. You're buying and I'm shipping you a product-based business.
Yeah.
Shopify sounds like
Shopify
that's
is
the preferred
really
choice.
designed for that. Yeah.
Okay. And then I know, and I don't want to belabor this topic but I just think, if I'm a business owner, I'm wanting direction on like where to go on in terms of platforms sometimes. I know there's a lot of folks out there that use WordPress. I know we, for
Yep.
example, use a WordPress site, but we're not selling physical products to ship either. So, we don't have as much of a need to be on a Shopify ourselves. But yeah, I'm familiar with like WooCommerce being like the cart on,
Or
a
WordPress.
WordPress
Yep.
site.
Yep.
Um, but I guess what I'm really asking, kind of related to that, is like when does somebody need Shopify versus what they might get away with on some other types of platforms? Just if you were meeting somebody at a cocktail party, and you're like, oh, you need to be on Shopify because of this.
Yeah, honestly, I would say that to everyone because of how good they've done. We know, like, we get paid to migrate people that are on WooCommerce over to Shopify,
Hmm.
and we can build the exact same store as what they have on WooCommerce, and it'll convert 25-30% better.
Wow.
So, it just works better. It's faster. It's less buggy. The dashboard in the back end, is really difficult for store owners to do their accounting and a bunch of other stuff. Shopify has cleaned all of that up, and it's the reason why like they've literally put most of the other ones out of business.
Interesting. Okay. And I'm going to be a little selfish here in this next question, but it's kind of related. So, like, I know, so it sounds like, let's assume you've got a client that's on Shopify, and you've helped them optimize, and they're making some sales. Those sales eventually have to get into their accounting system. We're a QuickBooks shop. We do all things QuickBooks, and we do have some clients that are like, hey, I'm on Shopify. I've got sales coming in. I need to get those into QuickBooks for just overall accounting. um, what have you seen in that world, or is that even a space that you live in at all?
Well, yeah, there's an app. QuickBooks has an app that would connect it right with the store, and so it'll literally import and create reports exactly as you need them. So it's seamless.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So let's go back into the weeds a little bit. So you mentioned, because we're talking about optimizing the website for conversions. You mentioned having obviously a sales page with filters and search, which I think is great. And we've all seen those when we've gone shopping on best in class type of stores. Filter, filter, filter. Here's my one, two, three, four products to choose from.
Yeah.
Um, but you mentioned something about making that call to action stand out versus maybe other parts of the page, or maybe
Yeah.
different color schemes that are in use.
Or
Like,
even trying to blend it in. So if you have a black and yellow theme, you don't want a black or yellow button. You might as well use blue or green or orange or something like that so that it stands out and it doesn't blend in 100%.
okay, so that's that. It's almost like you wouldn't do a blinking light, blinking button, but it's the
No.
equivalent of a
Yeah.
of
That
a, of a
feels spammy and the shaking buttons and yeah, that worked 8-9 years ago, but so many people got burned by those people that were just trying to make a quick sale that they don't trust things that look like that anymore.
right. But still, you want it to stand out, be like recognizable, like this is the button you need to click.
Yes, this is the next most important action.
Okay.
I can give you another thing that like it doesn't matter if your website is searching for opt-ins or it's selling physical products. You after they take the action that you want them to, you have a thank you page. And so what we do is we have a little pop-up that comes up on that thank you page after they've just spent money with you or they've just given you their information. And we ask them this question: what was the one thing that almost made you not buy?
Hmm.
They'll tell you any issues that they had or things that were hard to understand or friction points. And then we use that data when we get enough of it. You'll see trends and we go back and fix those things in the funnel. And that's really probably, I would say that that's accounted for 5 or 6 of our biggest wins over the last several years is from asking people that question, people who just spent money. You obviously got them over the line, but there was probably some things that weren't great. And so when they tell you that, you go back and fix it, and your conversions go up almost every time.
I think this is first off, it's brilliant. Great, great job for coming up with that. I'm fascinated. So okay, so somebody's going through the shopping cart. Maybe they had trouble finding it, or maybe they couldn't find exactly what they were looking for, or it felt clunky to them for whatever reason, but they still pushed through. They made the sale. They get to a thank you for your order page, and you're asking, what was it? Was there anything that almost kept you? You say it again.
What was the one thing that made you almost not buy?
What was the one thing that almost made you not buy?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And then you collect those submissions.
Yeah.
Um,
And you'll see trends. And we've
man,
literally made our clients millions and millions of dollars by asking that question.
I love it. I love it. And you could probably apply that same concept to other businesses that are not in e-commerce as well.
Yeah.
Like let's say we had a contact us form to learn more about something, and somebody goes through the process of filling it out and hit submit. You could probably ask the same question. What's the one thing that almost caused you to not contact us?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Well, your Google reviews weren't good enough, or you looked for a team certification page but couldn't find it, or I want to know who the owner of this business is before I buy. I guess there's a lot of different reasons why
Yeah.
somebody could
Yeah.
come up.
And what I would say is, you want a couple hundred responses before you just start going and changing a bunch of things because you're going to get outliers. But
Yeah,
after you get a couple hundred, you're definitely going to see trends. And then when you go back, take care of those, it always works.
I love it. Man, I need to do that on my side right now. So I'll
Yeah,
be
it's
right back. Give me a
pretty
second.
crazy.
Give me a second. So what about like we you've mentioned a few times like 9 or 10 years ago, and obviously things continue to change. They have changed. They're going to keep changing. Back in the day, I remember there was a lot of what do they call them? Exit pop-ups. Like, let's say
Yep.
you didn't buy anything and now you're leaving, and up comes this pop-up. Is that still in vogue, or is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of times people pop it up like almost, right away or like 10 seconds. And we always recommend not to do that because you're kind of interrupting their flow and
Yeah,
you're giving them a reason to leave. And so we typically look at what the time on site average is. And then if it's 90 seconds or 2 minutes, then usually about 10 seconds short of what the average time on site, that's when that pops. Or if they go to exit the page, then it'll pop up. Because at that point, you're losing them anyways. We're just trying to capture them as many as
right.
we can. Yep.
Yeah. What is your strategy with those types of exit pop-ups? Is it to get a name and email for a newsletter, or is it more of an offer-based type of thing? Like, what have you found
Yeah, it just
helps?
depends on what the person's selling. If it's physical products, a discount. If it's digital products, I think a discount works or a bundle or different things. Yeah, it's literally, I would just default and say, hey, well, we're going to test 2 or 3 things and see which one provides the best result.
Okay, got it. Interesting. So one of the other things that you had mentioned when we were talking before the show, you mentioned like how you build forms that people are filling out can have an impact as well. Um, Obviously, I mean, one of the things I've heard is like, if you ask people to fill out 10 fields, that's worse than saying fill out three, right? So the more
Yeah,
fields that they have to fill out, but
each form field that you give them to fill out will reduce conversions. So we always say only ask for the bare minimum of what you actually need, and
yeah.
then get the rest of the information later and fill it in.
Okay. But it doesn't just stop there, right? So like let's say you had name, phone, email, and that's all you needed. It's like are there ways to optimize even that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. The text inside the form fields matters. So you get a lot of form field errors in the email and the phone number on these physical product stores. And so for us, we actually put email required for order confirmation. And we've tested all kinds of different language in there, but for order confirmation, that's the most opened email on your website. About 80% of the time it gets opened. And so by telling them that, we found that our abandoned carts, like the form field errors, et cetera, are way, way down. And we get a lot more abandoned carts to come back because they gave you their good email.
Interesting. Okay, so it's kind of like the difference between just asking for information and telling people why you need the information,
Yes,
right?
that's really all it is. Yeah, and it came from, I was reading a book by Robert Cialdini, and essentially people were asking if they could cut in line, and they would only let about 2 people out of 10 cut in when they had no reason. But as soon as they gave them a reason, like my kids are late for school or I'm running behind or whatever, it didn't actually matter what the reason was. Now they let eight out of 10 cut. So I thought, oh wow. So if we tell them why we're asking for this because we had so many errors in there. When we put that in there, we found that we got about 270% reduction in errors. And so it was drastic. We've seen as much as a 17% lift on a checkout just by putting the text in the form fields.
That's it's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm going to say something very obvious to everybody who's hopefully watching and listening to this. But and really, I'm just asking everybody that's listening to collectively just shake your head and yes, say yes, yes, yes. It sounds to me like if you just go build a site and throw the product up there and say, "Here's some stuff, buy from me," you're underwhelmingly shooting yourself in the foot. You're probably um, minimizing your returns versus giving it proper thought, attention, and perspective that Matthew, for example, can give you that you probably aren't quite frankly probably aren't even aware of. I mean, would that be a pretty true statement?
Yeah, this is all I've done for, 7 days a week for the last 10 years, 12 years. And so, of course, there's probably lots of other people who it would be the same question for me. I wouldn't try to go do it on my own without getting some sort of mentor because essentially what you're doing is cutting the line or at least shortcutting your learning curve through good data and experience.
No, it's really important. I mean, of course, what we've especially in our company and with our clients, we've learned and we try to counsel our clients to appreciate expert advice. Sometimes we have clients that don't always take the advice, but we're here to say, hey, we've just like you, we've been here, we've done this, we know the right path from experience. We know we can do this, and this better. Of course, it's up to them to say, okay, I value that that
Advice.
expertise,
Yeah.
but it sounds like to me, it's a no brainer. It's like if you are really trying to not just have a hobby of selling stuff, but actually have a business that's viable, making profit and growing, it sounds like, I mean, really, this is kind of like the minimum stuff that you've got to do to optimize that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I think the user experience is the better it is, the more customers you're going to get to say yes. And so, like you said, there's just a lot of things that people aren't even aware of. And there's little, you know, tricks that we use in order to get the information that we need. And plus, we look at millions of dollars worth of data every month as a team. So their store might be doing 10 grand a month, which is great. Like, I'm not saying that that's not great. But what I'm saying is it would take them years and years to get the same number of clicks and data than what we get every single month. And so it's just a matter of seeking out a source where you have good quality information about what's working right now rather than what worked 2 years ago.
Awesome. Well, so I want to ask you a question about A/B testing because I think that's an probably an underutilized thing for a lot of companies. But I want to, before I like officially ask that question, you can go ahead and answer it. But I want to ask you a question kind of related to A/B testing. So when I think of like how I think about things, I know that it's not how everybody thinks about things. I'm little bit more, let's call it logical, organized, structured, reasoning. Whereas I know a lot of other people are very touchy feely, emotional. Like it's not about the logic or the reasons why I should buy. It's a feeling that I get and that I should buy. How much of that do you factor in when you do things like A/B testing to help optimize a store?
A lot, because not everybody browses the site the same way. So typically what we're looking for is things that are working well, and then how many other places can we put that in order to increase it, and then find out what other pieces are missing. And so, yeah, we're literally tracking every button click, how far they scroll on a page, how long they're on the page, if there's videos, how far they watch it, because all of that data is giving you user data that you can then make some pretty good assumptions on and typically raise your conversions.
Okay, so just one more sort of related question on A/B testing. I mean, I think, and again, I'm not like an engineer scientist type of person, I've been told a few things, and one is obviously you don't want to do too many tests at the same time. You want
Yeah,
to
you
have
can't.
sort of like
Otherwise,
your,
they negate each other. So yeah, one test at a time, at least only one test per page. So what you're really trying to do is you want to have a controlled environment, because if you're testing a whole bunch of things, you could be getting false positives or signals that like, oh, this doesn't work,
yeah.
when really it's working, and you just don't have the right data.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it probably comes down to a patience thing, right? It's like if I'm like I need this thing optimized super super fast, so let me try these 10 different things at the same time. But really, it's to get good data, clear data, even though it's going to probably take a little bit longer to test multiple variations. That's
Yep.
the right way to do it.
100%. And different areas of the store are going to test quicker than others. You're going to have a lot more people go to the homepage than you are the product page, and or than you are the checkout. And so a checkout test is going to take a lot longer because it's got, probably 90% less visitors or 95% less visitors than your other pages.
Right.
So it really depends on where you're doing the test as far as how long you want to run it and how much traffic's looking at it. Because you
Yeah.
can't do it off of like 100 visitors.
What would you say would be the minimum threshold for like, okay, this is good, potentially reliable information? I mean, you meant not 100. What would you
Well, it
also say?
depends. That also depends on like the cost of your average order value too, because you're going to get a lot less people taking actions on a $2,000 average order value than you are on a $60 average order value. So it really is context dependent, and
Hmm.
I'd like to give you a better answer, but like it just really depends on what you're selling and how much it is, and that's going to kind of give you your percentages.
Okay. Okay. But I guess the moral of that story is don't get five answers and go, oh,
No, yeah, yeah, because you can have an anomaly very easy. There's a lot of times that, like a new test will come out of the gate really strong. We think it's definitely going to win, and we know that for sure. Even on a site that gets tons of visitors, you want at least 7 days. The test should run for 7 days,
okay.
and so it has an entire cycle. And I would tell you that probably 6 out of 10 of them that come out the gate as a win end up being either dead even or losing farther down the road because of
Hmm.
giving them enough time to actually get enough traffic to both that you have a good decision.
Interesting. Interesting. Is that and since you generally recommend and are obviously an expert on the Shopify front, is that even is that A/B testing thing? Is that like part of the platform? Is it typically something you're bolting on something on top of it to do?
Yeah, it's something you both have to do it. Shopify
Okay.
doesn't have the testing in the platform. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's good. It's important for our audience to realize that even if you're on Shopify, there's things that you, as an example, Matthew would add on connect on top of their Shopify to help them optimize it versus something they can just go click, click, click and do it themselves.
Yeah, yeah, we would use Google Analytics and Tag Manager, and then also like there's a lot of different testing ones. We happen to use Visual Website Optimizer.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, as we're getting really to the end of the show, just any other tips, thoughts, strategies that you can share based on, or things to not do or things to avoid from your experience?
Yeah, I always go back to simplicity scales. So having fancy fonts and flowery words and things like that, where people have to interpret it or try to figure it out, will always hurt conversions. It might look cool, but it's going to cost you sales. So don't fall in love with the look near as much as the functionality, because the functionality is typically what creates more sales, which is what nets more revenue in your pocket.
I love it. I love it. It's like one of my, a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. So pardon me for sharing, but like one of my pet peeves is when whether it's a website, a piece of paper, a flyer, a menu, anything like that, and I can't even read the word because it's using a fancy script.
Yeah,
I'm literally having to squint to go, what is that word actually?
yeah.
So
You see
to
it a
your
lot
point,
more than you think. Yeah.
yeah. So just keep it simple. Less fancy is better. I mean, obviously there's context and different reasons why something might be better or not
Yeah.
with a given product line. But if you had a choice between simple or more complicated, simple.
Every time. Every time.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
this has been fascinating, Matthew. I imagine there's somebody out there listening that's like, hey, I've got an e-commerce store, or I want to get into this product line business. So if somebody wanted to connect with you, how do they do that so that you can help them?
Yeah. Our website is buildgrowscale.com, and my email is matt@buildgrowscale.com. So you can either go on the website. There's a lot of free resources and a lot of good information on there, a lot of other podcasts that we've done. And then if you want to book a call, I'd be happy to jump on and kind of do an audit of your site with you and point out some things that we see. And if there's a fit, that'd be great. And if not, then you had a good call with some audit it.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Matthew, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And for everybody that's listening, again, I hope you got value out of this. Our whole philosophy, the reason why we even have this show, and really the reason why we have an amazing guest like Matthew, is to help you be more successful in your business. And so if you've got an e-commerce store, if you've got a product-based business, don't just hope it does well. I mean, let's make these things better. Let's maximize your ability to be successful, to make more sales, to make more profits, so that you're in business and you can impact the world in an amazing way. So thanks again. And for those of you that are listening, I hope you got value out of this, and keep subscribing. We will talk to you again next week. There is a Solution for That is produced by VARK Solutions. This episode was produced by Ashley White and Aaron Riley. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Watch the video version on youtube.com/there's a solution for that. Or visit varcsolutions.com/podcast, where you'll find our entire podcast archive, as well as show notes, links to solution providers, and complete transcripts of every episode. If you love the podcast, please leave a review with your comments.